Now we're actually going to start because I didn't unmute my mic. So that little spot right there didn't matter. Oh, yeah? Who you texting? Who you texting? Oh, let me see that. Let me see that person's name.
It's just something.
Better not be my cousin.
I wish. I'm just kidding.
Don't be messing, dude. All right, so we're gonna end up doing.
Be related.
No, that's a terrifying nightmare of mine. But honestly,
you know, if my son marries your
okay,
daughter,
okay, I don't want to talk about that right now. No fan fictions.
We'll be brothers-in-law.
So essentially, what we're gonna be doing right now is
the mid lane power rankings.
You okay? We actually
skipped the for fun region.
I'm gonna punch you in the throat. Oh my god. Yeah. So essentially, what we did, we skipped out on this for a long time. We actually did it once and uploaded it for like 2 seconds. But
don't lie. You uploaded the wrong video.
No, we uploaded it at one point. Oh no, we did. We uploaded it.
It was just we. It was you.
Yeah, and then we deleted it. Remember? Because of the fact that it was terrible.
He uploaded the wrong video. I saved it on my computer for like a bit. He dumped Red Bull in his computer, and I was like, "Hey, you want me to put it up?" He's like, "No."
Yeah, it was. I'm gonna
talk to you again.
That didn't happen. But essentially, we did a really poorly done job. I don't feel like we did enough research.
He's always saying, "Okay, I'll just accept."
So essentially, he always does a poorly done job. So what I'm saying is, I did a poor job, and he just did his normal job. So I didn't want to put something out that we didn't put enough effort into, like actually researching. So
also, the mid lane role is really the most controversial one. So I didn't want to put this one out as just like. Really quickly after the other ones. The other ones I've already had set arguments for a while.
So we're gonna get pretty much down to it. Honestly, I don't want to take too much time on this because it's probably gonna last around an hour. So on number 10, we both have the same.
This one could be like 30 minutes though.
I mean, yeah, we're kind of similar all the way to Wait.
Spoilers? Actually,
yeah,
we could try something different. We could say the whole list and then go back for it.
Because I kind of want to surprise people because I don't want people to be angry with me till the end. If they know what I picked already, they're gonna be like,
we should do 10 through 7th. We should tell them since it's the same anyway.
Oh, no.
Because then we'll go just off of that, and then top 6 we should go over that.
Let's just do one by one.
Oh my god!
Piece by piece.
Why can't we just be different?
Okay, so on number 10, we both picked Damonte.
Who was we? No, I actually did choose.
Okay, so
Damonte.
Yes.
After thinking it, he thought I was trolling, and I was gonna put Fenix below Damonte. But after thinking just for like a split second, I kind of realized the reason why I put Damonte lower. It's for several reasons. The performance was very below average. Like, he looks like, by stats wise, he was upper middle tier for mid laners.
Not only in the spring, in the summer, his stats were pretty poor, to be honest. I think he was in the lower half during the summer split.
Echo Fox was trying to play funnel.
Yeah.
He was not the funnel person.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, all around, I think that Damonte looked really good at the end of end of spring when he kind of took the spot from Fenix. If anybody remembers, Fenix actually looked way better than him. I'm way worse than him by the end of spring.
It was like
and then
during Rift Rivals, Fenix fell apart.
Yeah, it was that. At the end of spring and during Rift Rivals, it was pretty obvious that Damonte should have the spot. And then we all know how it ended up. They actually ended up kicking Fenix off the team. And right after that, Damonte just fell off.
It was something Double have said about him too. He tried to like do stuff to make himself like I forgot exactly what he said, but it made sense by just like how Damonte was playing. Like, he was trying to prove he was so good by just doing really off things. Like, there was the TSM series they had the first time around where it went to 5 games where he visibly tilted on stage after he didn't kill Bjergsen's LeBlanc. It's just several things he does like wrong. It's like too over aggressive. The CS numbers really aren't that well. You have the mid lane for our for fun region NA getting better. So it's like, I just don't think he's gonna mesh up very well. I think he's actually going to. I mean, I think in the actual split he'll be upper middle pack, but for just ranking them in general in terms of like skill and everything else, now he's 10th. Sorry, buddy.
Like, I don't know if it's like, I feel like he still has talent. Obviously, it's still his first year.
Is it talent or just trying to just do stuff to make yourself look good? Because talent's like what Jensen has.
No, saying that he doesn't have talent when he made it to Challenger, he obviously has the capabilities. I feel like most of it comes from the fact that he's only been playing for a little bit, so I'm gonna give him. Maybe he does come back from it, but
maybe he becomes a better Pobelter eventually.
I don't know if I really want to compare him to that. Consistency is not something I imagined from him, but I want to see if he comes back from it next year. If he doesn't, I don't think he's. If this year he doesn't bounce back at least by quite a large margin, I don't see a reason to keep.
Yeah,
him.
because with the whole thing with franchising with the league, they don't have to take risk anymore. The problem is, like, if you're just not showing up, they put in their academy mid laner, or they just get another mid laner in general.
Right.
So like it's at the point now in the LCS or any other region, you just have to kind of prove yourself that you're good, and you only have a set few amount of window in which you can. So it really does have to do something with how you're going to play and how you function with your team. This split, it should be Damonte just like proving everybody wrong, and if he is like upper middle pack, that's definitely going to prove our list wrong. But I mean, just calling it like I see it.
All right,
and he's going to be on clutch too, right? Crud, man.
He is going to be on clutch, but I think the biggest thing about him that I'm kind of worried about.
He's also a Cassiopeia one trick. I just feel like if you're playing
He's not a Cassiopeia one trick.
I feel like his only highlight reels are on Cassiopeia.
Well, you don't need a highlight reel to be good, but I think that if he comes back to a sprint that's why you're bronze.
I am challenger. What the heck?
Challenger, my bad.
Yeah, get it right, kid.
My bad. But essentially, what I would want to say is, if he doesn't come back if he comes back to a spring split, like the end of the spring split form when he kind of took over the spot of what's it called, I could easily see him being worth the slot because I don't think that's incredible. I think he's still middle of the pack, but you can build a team around that. Honestly, you can build a team around somebody like that.
Yeah,
but you can't build a team around what he was by the end of the summer split. That's
that last
impossible.
series they played against TSM. If you saw that, you'd probably think he's like the worst mid laner in the league.
All right. So I think that's pretty much for Damonte.
Number 9.
Okay. All right. So number 9 again, we're pretty much the same. It's Fenix. I mean,
I had high hopes for Fenix last year when he came in spring because he looked really good on Liquid.
He looked really good at the beginning of this spring. To be honest, I don't think he looked that bad. But
and then you had whatever Fenix you saw at Rift Rivals, and
it wasn't even just Rift. It was the end of towards the middle to end of the spring split. At the middle to end of the spring split is when he just fell off again. Like both of them. He was
literally MVP candidate for a while. He had some MVP performances.
He looked good. I don't know about MVP, but I do think he looked to be on the top half of the mid lane rankings. Honestly, he looked a lot better than most of the mid laners. I thought he
finally had gotten back to his Liquid form where he was just a really good, consistent mid laner.
He was good on Azir.
Hey, the Vladimir performances were.
No, I'm gonna be honest.
Nowadays.
If anybody remembers his Liquid form, it was literally just if he wasn't on Azir, he was terrible.
I mean,
that he actually had he started gradually getting better and better, and right before they kicked him off, I honestly think he looked really good. But it took him a long time to get to that point, and I feel like he hasn't had too many good years. I think
he's been in the league for a while at this point.
He has. I feel like he looked really good at the towards the end of his tenure with Team Liquid, and really good in the academy. I want to put that out there. Like I know it's just the challenger scene. It was the challenger scene at that point, but he still looks incredibly good. He looked good
on that challenger team he was on at 1.2, Gold Coin United.
That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah, the one that had Mad Life and all that stuff.
Good lord, they had E United had Dandy. It's weird though. Zazel and Licorice played on E United for those who don't know.
But I do actually think he looked really good, and it's not just because of the challenger scene. I think he was making a lot of smart moves. He was one of the better players in the challenger scene.
Because people have to understand, they kicked him off Echo Fox for a reason.
Like he looked.
It was with the whole roster lock thing.
No. He was kicked off because. Okay, if anybody doesn't realize what happened, it's because of the fact that they made a lot of poor financial decisions. They paid a few of the players too much money and ended up in a situation where I think they passed it off to some of the newer people that they had just hired. I'm probably gonna try and see if I can find a link to the article they actually stated.
Wasn't it on their official page?
No, it wasn't on there. But Rick Fox actually went over the reason. Rick Fox was not a part of any of this situation. Apparently, he had no.
So yeah, I think he said he contacted Phoenix himself over a DM.
No, he didn't. Right? He didn't talk to him at all. Rick Fox.
After that, how they have got him back on the team now.
Yeah,
they said they had settled.
Yeah, that's the reason that Phoenix came back to the team. Rick Fox himself kind of reached out to him, but Rick Fox actually, from my knowledge, if you go and read, I'm gonna try and find the article and link it. If I don't.
If not, you'll see my own personal channel link it. He'll probably send it to me and I'll do it myself if that comes to that.
Your own personal channel? What? Why would you?
Plugins.
No, don't plug in, dork.
But yeah, it was the money decision, and it's like.
But essentially, it wasn't just the money. It was essentially they were in a big financial spot, and they knew that their team wasn't going to make it. So essentially, they could not pick up other players and still be a capable as everybody knows, there's not a lot of income for the teams right now, so they can't just keep pouring in money for players, or it'll just become And
it's like a company. If you guys are part of a company, budget cuts.
No, well, don't treat people like that. But a lot of people. What was that face you just made? That was kind of.
That's literally budget cuts. It's kind of what companies do when you need to cut back.
Yeah, but that face you just made. I made it. I made a smart whatever.
I think
reference.
Overall, even past those decisions, I thought after Rift Rivals he was gonna get kicked anyway. Like let's just take out the fact
you
that
can't kick him at right where they did it was wrong.
Yeah,
I think the reason.
Let's just imagine a world where there's no roster locks and there's like. No money issues. I still believe Damonte would have took the spot anyway.
He would have taken the spot. I don't disagree that. I think he would have. I think that Fenix would have got it back towards the end of the year. But the reason that this happened, obviously, I want to finish this statement because.
Ooh.
No, what do you mean?
I'm just kidding. Yeah, finish.
What do you mean?
I'm just making banter so they can laugh and we can entertain.
Okay, so essentially, the reason I want to go over this a little bit more because the reason that obviously it has to be a net income. There's not a lot of money for the teams as it stands right now. So if they hadn't kicked him before that time slot. And because obviously they needed to bring in these people, and with these new people, they couldn't play Fenix also. So if they kept Fenix and all these people on the roster, they'd be about like thousands of dollars under the not the limit, but under thousands of dollars under profit. And reasonably, it's not reasonable that they did this at the last second. It's still morally wrong.
Yeah, because you factor in Rick Fox is a business owner. He is hiring these people.
Yeah, Rick Fox himself did not do it. I want to put this out there.
He didn't do it, but I do want to kind of have him hold this L. Is that
no? He did no.
No, because like you hire these people. He hires people to make sure they do their job correctly. He is at some fault here. You know, like. It's like if I hired you and you like screwed me out of money, that is still my fault at the end of the day. I hired you.
Wait,
you know?
who are we blaming?
No, like
right now?
he still should take some blame. I'm not saying he's.
I don't
like,
think he didn't take any. He did take blame for it, but the thing about it is, I really wouldn't put much blame on him.
And the whole roster lock thing, oh god.
People like it's more so the financial advisors and all the people, essentially the coaches, kind of made the final decision on this, and he's kind of. Like, he's inside of the league itself, but he's not really he's not taking the front wheel, is essentially what he's doing, because he's not, obviously, as knowledgeable as the rest of them. But I just wanted to put that out there, because I'm going to look for the article if I can find it. If I can't.
If not, I'll put it somewhere in here.
Well, you don't know where the article is either.
Damn, I don't remember. It probably was on Reddit.
Whoa. Dude,
Reddit.
Come on.
But he's looking at his own gameplay from the last time we seen him. No. He's going to be bottom. He might be 6th place highest.
I think he could get around there, but I think that's pretty much it for him. I think we spent a lot of time on most of his.
No, most people are gonna probably want to know that.
Well, yeah, I guess. But number 8, it's again the same. It's gonna be Pobelter. I mean, Pobelter has been icon, like one of the most iconic, consistent mid laners in the league. And last year he did not live up to that. He was really inconsistent actually. He had a few, I would say like 2 or 3 standout. Not even that much.
He had like. 2 on like broken champions that are supposed to have stand-up.
He had a few standout performances, but for the most part, he was kind of.
I feel like. Yeah. Really,
I feel like he was really
underwhelming.
Underwhelming, yeah, that's the word. He was he did not live up to expectations.
He wasn't winning in lane. Like sometimes, even though he was consistent, he did win in lane quite a bit.
I wouldn't even give him. Yeah, this year he didn't do either one of those.
He wasn't consistent, wasn't winning lane, underwhelming, and wasn't internationally good either.
Let's
That's like 4 strikes. I thought it was 3 strikes.
A lot of people like if anybody likes to if anybody wants to take a look at his last year's world performance, everybody likes to look at the Orianna ult, and that kind of hold it against him for him not being good when he was on Immortals and stuff. For the most part, I want to say that I do actually think that it wasn't last year. Essentially, I guess it's like 2 years now.
Yeah.
But essentially, I honestly think Pobelter did really well at Worlds, but beyond that little focal point, which people like to point out the big flaws instead of the actual little small, minute details, he actually pulled off really well.
He actually played better than most of his teammates when he was on Worlds. But then you get to this year's Worlds,
not even just
he was getting clapped by UCal.
Yeah.
Here's the
don't
thing.
Say UCal. UCal clapped everybody.
Here's the thing. Now there's something with being a more veteran player. You don't really like. How do you lose to someone that much younger than you though?
Dude, UCal claps everybody.
I know, but like
no, that doesn't. I'm not even gonna use that.
Pobelter's played for years compared to UCal.
So
he should not have. At that point, you don't lose that bad.
Everybody in Korea who played for years got clapped by him. I would not use that. I would not hold.
No,
that
I know, but
him.
At that point, when I saw him just losing to UCal straight up, I was like, so you have to know by Liquid standards, he's not going to be internationally good.
Well, Jensen would have got clapped by him.
I think Jensen would have fared better against
I mean,
him.
better, yes, but getting clapped, yes, it would have happened.
Like he just lost, and then not only
I wouldn't.
At least he wasn't not consistent. He was underwhelming. What's the champion that does the whole circle? Rise. When he was on Rise, like you can tell he couldn't even make a move. Like when you need to just be that forward direction for your team. Mid laners, you have to be the centerpiece of attention because you're doing the most roaming. Like he does roam effectively.
I think that he's a good team player, but that's kind of his strong suit, and he didn't. Honestly, that's essentially
like the game against EDG. If we had seen that Pobelter, that would have been better than what you had gotten throughout every other game.
If you want my honest opinion, I don't think he's ever done decent on a I think he always underperforms on a team with double lift. I'm going to put that out there. Every single time I see him in international stages with double lift, he underperforms.
But the time he didn't have double lift in Immortals, he played decently.
He played well. I think he played well. As much as people like to disagree with that, I think he played fine on Immortals.
I think if you come back to this split, when you're looking at these guys, it's looking worse.
I think
he might be better than the Never 7 pick at certain points, but it's just not good. Like, he got kicked for a reason, and now he's on FlyQuest.
Well, I mean, to be honest, even if he was still doing as well, he would have got kicked for Jensen. Jensen's always just been better than him.
And even if they weren't going to get Jensen, I still don't see him staying on Team Liquid.
Team Liquid needed to kick him, honestly. Impact was no longer an import slot, so if they hadn't got Jensen, they would have got somebody else who was also not an import. I mean, who was an import. They would have got somebody, and he was going from this team regardless. But I think... I'd like to see Pobelter at least...
FlyQuest have a good mid laner now.
Not
good by a certain standard compared to what they used to have. But I just don't think he's going to do well this split. I think he'll have... That's the problem. He has nothing to lose this split. So you could...
He has a lot to lose. I feel like if he doesn't prove himself...
He has nothing to lose and nothing to prove. So theoretically, certain times when players are in that position, I've seen them drastically overperform. So theoretically, he could... be really good this split by no one caring about him right now. And people think he's bad right now. So theoretically, he could pull off
I don't like to use theoretical situations because, I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah.
I want to say the situation is, most likely situation, he performs a little... I think he's going to perform better because he obviously, from all of his other years, he's performed better than that. So he's going to at least perform better than he did last year. I want to imagine that. But realistically, that's just not good enough in today's league. There's way too many good mid laners in NA.
And then we're gonna have our number 7 pick.
All right, our number 7 pick is Crown. I mean, it's. Really...
I have high hopes for. I do have a little bit of hope for him. I was rooting for this guy when he was on Samsung Galaxy in 2016. I thought he was really good, but he's not at that point anymore.
He was honestly, I'm gonna put it out there. I don't think he's been great since his probably spring split or summer split of last year. I think that. Well, I guess it's 2 years now. I keep forgetting.
It was week 1 when they were called KSV. He has not been good. He did that dancing around the Tom Kenshin global ults. After that week in that game, he's been pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, he's just been bad.
I mean, even before then, the Worlds before where they actually won, I think that was probably his worst international performance besides this year's. It was really, I think he was not at his best form.
I don't know if Optic can redeem him. Like, if you look at his actual gameplay, he's not roaming, he's not winning in lane. Now, I know Jensen's great. I mean, Jensen's beat him before, but, like, the way he lost is just unacceptable.
Like, let's be honest. Like, if anybody remembers, he was really capable of just completely manhandling Bjergsen back in the day. I don't think manhandling is the word, but he did beat Bjergsen.
To be fair, they also will kill each other. They've all beaten each other.
Yeah, what I'm saying...
Points, but, like, Crown is better than... He's been better than what he's shown.
In his prime, he should... If he was in his prime right now, he'd be the best in NA. I want to be honest. He would be the best mid laner in NA in his prime. But he's not in his prime anymore, and it's just
He could be just theoretically washed up. He could be... Theoretically, right now...
If you say theoretically one more time, I'm going to throw something at you.
I'm going to throw you out my house.
But let's say it again. Just go.
Like, right now, in my own personal opinion, maybe for this list, he might be too high. He could come and just be a 10th place mid laner.
And honestly, and to another extent, he could even be better than what we're saying. Like, there's really no saying, because he's the biggest wild card of this entire group.
I do want to say he's 7th best because I think he's better than every person below him.
Yeah, I do think he's still...
On his worst days, he's still better than everybody below him.
I agree with that 100%. I think that Fenix is the only one that I could see as the outlier. Maybe if Fenix comes back to his earlier form, he could be better than him.
Like, the only way he doesn't become a question mark is how does Optic redeem a person that has depression? They literally probably couldn't undepress people that were depressed on their team. How are they going to depress a former world champion?
How are they going to depress him?
Undepress him. Because League makes you depressed. And he's like, well,
I don't know if
playing
League
in North America.
I don't know what made him. Yeah, dude, don't do that. No, none of that. Okay.
God,
you can't be doing those jokes. Remember?
I just don't understand how he's gonna okay. You see how he performed against Bjergsen and Jensen. He was going even with them. Okay, so that's good. He's better than his other competition under him. But this is when he was good. He hasn't been good in forever. But he's a wild card. I mean, what good does he have going for him right now?
I mean,
he wasn't even consistent in lane.
The thing about
he was just losing.
What I'm saying is, it was a good pickup by Optic because you can either get if there's with the roster they have now, they need to take a risk. Honestly, with the roster they have now is not going to go anywhere unless they get a superstar. And this could easily be
superstar now. He is.
Well, you're not seeing what I'm saying. Kidding. What I'm saying is, if he comes back to form, you made the correct decision. If he doesn't, I mean, you can essentially just wait and just build up talent. Like you have the chance. Just wait until next year. This team could easily make it to the playoffs if he's in form. If he's in form, they have a really good jungler. They have a pretty solid. I wouldn't say solid bot. Man, they don't have solid. Man, Jesus.
They just have a solid jungler.
The jungler. And two junglers, actually. They have two solid junglers.
Meteos has to 1v9, and so does Dardog. So that's 2v8.
I think, I want to be honest, I still think Arrow is going to be decent if he gets a better... I feel like if they picked up a better support, he'd be decent. People under-exaggerate. I don't think his play was great, but I do think he had...
I don't think it was anything, underwhelming. He still played... decent.
I mean, he hasn't had that many bad years. I mean, if you remember him in Korea, he was an absolute monster.
He was at least top 3 ADC in
Korea People are saying he hasn't been good for a while, but it's literally most of his career is just...
literally not been good for a split.
Yeah, a split, and the rest of his career has been absolutely amazing.
No, 2 splits, because he started falling off in the last Phoenix 1 split, and
that's fair.
This year was just average. I wouldn't say this year was horrible by him. They were 1 game away from playoffs, so...
Yeah. I don't think it was great, again, but I do think it was solely based off of, what's his name? Power of Evil.
Big. So much better.
No, I'm saying Power... He essentially had to 1v9 for that team. I do think Optic... obviously, Arrow did.
Yes, that's even more a reason why Crown was a wild card. Because Crown... I don't even think he's going to be capable to 1v9 like Power of Evil could.
I don't... I'm going to be honest. There's a bunch of wild cards on this team. There's too many. They're Arrow. Arrow could be... Arrow's
the MVP level he was in spring 2017.
Let's be honest,
Meteos could get you back to the finals. Crown could be his World 2016 finalist, World 2017 champion form. I could theoretically get a wife right now. He could get a date.
Okay, it's not that extreme. I don't want to go to that extreme.
We know some higher up being doesn't have magical powers. I think Crown is...
Are you joking?
Crown, overall... what
are you doing?
You look at what he performed on Gen G. And that's going to be a bottom tier mid laner, and he's going to be on a bottom tier team. I really don't know how to really stress it for him, but it's the way he's going to be. So, do you have anything else Crown could possibly do? He's not going to 1v9.
I don't want to keep saying wild card because we're just repeating points at this point. So I just want to leave it at that. He's a wild card. He's worth taking a risk, honestly, because his prime is good. So that's pretty much it for me. Our number 6 again is the same. It's gonna be.
Suck.
Well, I guess our number 6 is gonna be Huhi. All right. So if anybody remembers him coming into the league, he was absolutely atrocious. And
that's wrong. Was he really that bad?
He was really that bad. Yes. I don't think he ever came into actual spotlights until the release of Aurelion Soul, and that's when you became hey, he's good on some champions.
It was the rest of one game against RNG when we first played Aurelion Soul. You're like, okay, he has some potential here.
I want to put it out there. If he had been capable of playing a different character besides Aurelion Soul, if he was as good as he was now, then, I think they would have went to the finals as the first place team. And no, they wouldn't have went to the finals because they would have got stomped by SKT. But yeah, they would have been better than RNG at that point. I believe so. But he's progressively became better and better to the point where I think he's one of the most valuable homegrown talents. Well, not homegrown, but essentially most valuable non-import slots in probably NA. He's in a mid lane, which NA desperately needs. A lot of them have to be imports to kind of even compete. But he can compete with the top players. He can hold his own, and he has the ability to have stand-up performances and force bans at you with just his pocket picks.
Now, he's not better than the top 3.
Well, yeah, that's why he's lower.
I think when you look at things in the way he's evolved as a player, the way he's just advanced as just what he's done around the map, the way he was he's not shot caller material from what we've seen on CLG, but we have seen a really good mid laner at this point. So, but I think he's just not better than his competition above him, but he's better than everybody below him now. And now he has a team to thoroughly flourish on. So
why did you just like go all out for that word?
I think that he can do a lot better this year with what he's given. We've seen him now be able to win lane and translate his CS lead into diving bot, going top, helping the jungler out. He wasn't really good with Reignover. I don't know how good he'll be with Onda, but we do know he's now with Afro, which he was successful with. So you're going to see a lot more coordinated dives bot.
I do actually think one of the few people from the CLG days that he doesn't completely hate anymore. I mean, him and maybe Darshan.
Probably.
Everybody else, I just feel like he just has bad relations with. I'm actually referencing Afro Moon, to be honest, but for the most part, I do think that this is one of the better pickups in, and I'm going to put, like, I know it's not the big names like Jensen and stuff, but I do actually think this is one of the better pickups because the person he's replacing was the single worst, if maybe the single worst mid laner in NA, and he's come down to 5 or 6. Like, he's really close to the top. He's in the top half of the league.
Yeah,
and that's a really gigantic jump for a team who I think would have been capable to compete at Worlds at least not be such a pushover at Worlds if they had a better mid laner. But
just a better anything.
Well, their jungler, I'm gonna put it out there. Onda played really well at Worlds. I think that was one of his when he actually came online. I do think he underperformed throughout the entirety of the first two splits he was in.
Some random players that are not good just randomly perform good well at Worlds.
It wasn't randomly. I feel like he came onto form, and I actually kind of slightly have hopes for on the next split because that was smart play on him.
Hey, one
aggressive
your
play
style.
Dude, don't do that. What are you doing?
Oh god, aggressive play style. That's what Huhi's gonna offer too, because Huhi, being the way he is, I think will pair better with Onda because Reignover was a passive jungler. And I don't think that passive and aggressive pair well together. It has to be in sync, and we saw that on COG when a lot of players are passive. He was aggressive. It wasn't really in sync very well, so it just didn't look very well for him in general. But I do think he's better than... He's shown that he's really good to be in the... He is now upper middle tier for our for fun region.
All right, so I think that's pretty much... This is kind of where we start differing because the
I
bottom 6, obviously, apparently...
I really tried.
Bottom 5, I did not count correctly. Our bottom 5 were obviously the same, but this is kind of where we kind of... I don't even think we have a similar... Oh, no. Yeah, we don't have a single one at the same at this point. So you want to go first?
Do you want to just list them and then go, or just...
No, just do them.
You are no fun.
Wait, how's that better?
For our world's top 20 players, we're going to do that.
No, how's that better either?
You just list it and give your reasons.
I would just go.
Oh my... This is why you're wearing a plaid shirt. Is that plaid? Oh, yeah. Number 5 is going to be Splice's ex-mid laner, now my new mid laner, Nisqy. Okay, Nisqy, I thought, looked pretty good on Splice. There's a few things where I can say that he didn't live up to, but looking back on now Cloud9, as a Cloud9 fan, this is I would say it's not a downgrade in the way people think. It's actually more of a downgrade like Jensen being a 10. I think that Nisqy's more like your 8. I think he can play anything and everything to a certain degree. We see him pull out random pocket picks, not to the same level as Jensen, but I think that if they groom him in the same way that they did with Jensen and how the team draft is supposed to be, I think he'll be a lot better for them. We saw him in EU hold his own against some of the better EU mid laners, Caps, Nuke Duck, players like Jizuki. He wasn't doing well against them when he first went over, for obvious reasons. Maybe that could have been team environment, trying to figure out how he wanted to play the game. But once he actually wanted to play the game the way he was able to, early game aggression, he did well. Late game team fighting, he did well. And he was able to make the big play when it was needed. I think Nisqy is a fine addition to Cloud9 with how we kind of wanted to get Caps, but he wants to go to G2, but that's how life works. Choo-choo. But overall, I think he's going to be a fine mid laner. I think he could arguably challenge for top 3, but what I've seen from him compared to everybody else, I think he can comfortably challenge for the number 4 spot. But I do think at highest, he can get 3rd, I think.
All right, so as I've said, we actually start differing here. So my number 5 is actually gonna be Froggen. So I know he's a legacy player, and a lot of people are gonna be upset with me. Like I know he should be a little bit higher on this, just in most people's minds, based off of what his past accolades.
I mean, I was gonna put him where Nisqy's spot is.
But to be honest, I think Froggen, I haven't seen him enough recently. I just don't have any sort of clue as to what level he's at. He hasn't played for a year. Like, he looked good in the what's it called, but like, who didn't? Like, there was not many professional level players in that you had
players that were up and coming.
Yeah.
Were good.
But I didn't really think that was a good enough competition to really gauge how good he was. I think that he did not look great in, like, if you've looked at a solo queue, he's been like 1-tricking and 2-tricking. He's not. No, but I think he's not looking too incredible right now. Like, he's playing off picks. I don't like. It's just not. Like, I do like the fact that he's trying to get back on the page. If you've seen his recent games, he's getting more back onto the more meta picks. For the most part, he was kind of stuck in this situation, and it kind of worried me. Like, I do think he's obviously capable of being in the top 3 for sure. But as it stands right now,
at worst, maybe 4.
No, I think he's easily able to get to, like, if he's playing well, he's going to be in the top 2.
Yeah.
I think he could be in the top 2 if he's playing well. But as it stands right now, I don't know enough about how he's playing right now. I don't know about, like, there's just been no competitive situation where he's been in for me to know. Like, if you talk about his Echo Fox days, obviously he was the best player on that team, but who wasn't?
He was a 1v9 carry.
But let's be honest.
He was literally what Power of Evil was to Optic.
But I think, like, if you remember his days on Echo Fox, it was literally just he disregarded his team and just tried to farm through the entire game. Like, it was
he did make the big play.
He did make big plays eventually if the game wasn't already shut down by the rest of his laners losing.
Yeah.
He refused to, like, in that situation, he refused to go and help the struggling other laners. But, I mean, to an extent, I kind of understand why, because those laners weren't capable of helping him. Like, he's been on a team where I think he's been struggling just purely based off the fact that they were garbage. Like, I want to see him on a better team, and I think he's easily capable of being a top 2 mid laner. But, like, as it stands right now, there's been no recency. There's no recency I can base it off of. His solo queue doesn't look great, even though, like, I don't like his champion pool right now.
I thought he was on a decline for a little bit.
I don't know if he was on a decline. More so as the
league. Not like a massive decline.
Well, I would
maybe
say
like he's not
the league
what
itself,
people think anymore. I think he's going to be really good, but I don't think he's going to be outstanding. To be in my top 3, you got to be outstanding, consistent, a bunch of things. I don't think he's going to be outstanding. Is the reason why he's going to be lower on my list too.
I think he's capable of being outstanding. I don't want to say that he's not able to. He's able. He's played to the level of anybody in this league. Obviously, he's one of the best mid laners of all time from the West. So saying that, like, I don't want to say he won't be outstanding, but I don't know what he's capable of.
He does offer some nice things for draft. He's a flexible player.
He's extremely flexible.
He wins 1v1s. He has nice CS leads. He knows how to win on champions you get counter on that you're supposed to lose really bad on. That's a trait not a lot of players actually have, which he has. He knows how to team fight pretty well. His issue, I think that he's not going to be able to synergize with his new roster. You have his new roster.
I don't want to put synergy issues on anybody because everybody struggles with synergy issues when they first start. A lot of these people on this list are on new rosters.
Some of them have the benefit of the doubt, but most of them have new rosters actually.
Yeah, but I mean, Froggen obviously he's played with a lot of rosters throughout his entire career,
and he's made it work.
Yeah, he's made it work. To some of them, not Alliance. I mean, not Alliance. Elements.
Elements, Echo Fox. You look back. I mean,
Echo Fox was garbage, though. I can understand why you didn't make that work.
It didn't work with Origin, but you had forgiven Insect, Expect, and Jesus. Those are actually pretty competent players. Some of them are actually superstars. Insect being one of them.
But let's be honest. I think that he's like. I don't want to say he can't. I can easily see him being one of the best mid laners, but again, I just don't know. I don't know enough to be confident.
And, like, when he was in the league, he wasn't better than the top 2 people anyway.
I mean, I wouldn't say that. I think he was in the top.
He was at least top 3, but he wasn't better than our top 2.
I think he was better than Jensen at that point the last time he was in the league, maybe. I think he was competent enough to compete with him. I think that the reason he looked worse is because he put himself in a situation where he thought he had to carry.
No, it was that way every game.
Well, yeah,
he knew he had to carry.
So essentially, he would let his team die around him, and I believe that he's not going to keep doing that because I feel like he has a more competent team.
Yeah.
But
He doesn't have 4/5 of the map losing.
But again, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see him play before I make any assumptions to put him above people who I feel like are recently proven. So that's why I'm putting him this up.
My number 4 is Froggen. Mostly reason we went over, but I have a few differences. One being, I think he can thrive on champions that he feels comfortable to play on, and not more so the meta picks. When we see him actually in professional play, he likes to thrive on things that most people don't thrive on. You know, Anivia's, he'll randomly pull out a mid laner that's not good in the meta, play it to an effective instance. I think he can teamfight very well. I just don't really think he'll be outstanding this split. I just don't think so. I think at worst he'll get top 3, but we've already kind of covered most reasons why we don't. I have him lower for a reason. I have him at a number 4. I think that's comfortable and better than a lot of people are going to probably, I'm going to say I think a lot of people, just hearing off his name, are going to overrate him in a sense that he's at the level of like Jensen, Bjergsen, and the other people I have in my top 3. So yeah, sorry Froggen, you're just outside the top 3, but like even watching his stream, I don't get the feeling of like number 2 mid laner in the split. I just can feel it. Like I just have a
that's not a good enough reason.
Don't
say feel.
I feel. No
feeling.
But I just have this itch.
Don't do it. Just say reason.
Reasons don't. In 2018, we don't have logic.
Reasons are the only way you can say stuff.
Reasons are how I'm so right at league.
Yeah.
But I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I see top 4 as the highest because I think people just in general have gotten better in the top half.
I really do think in his prime he's easily number 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that the people got better, more so as I don't know what his level is at as it stands right now, and I think he could get back to that level, but I don't know yet. Are you doing?
You have.
I'm on
number 4.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
My number 4. I like how you announce every number. It's kind of cool, huh? But
kind of awesome.
Yeah, but my number 4 is going to be Power of Evil. I think that Power of Evil, I do think he was one of the best players, one of the better mid laners in NA last year. I think he was worse than Fevivin, Jensen, Bjergsen at pretty much every point, except for towards the end of summer where I think he kind of surpassed Fevivin. But I really, like, for the most part, I didn't really see that kind of stuff where he's pulling out, like, his own kind of, like, his own like iconic picks where he kind of created a build path. I kind of just saw him as a really strong mid laner. He wasn't to that same extent.
He did do build paths.
He did, I mean,
they just weren't really effective.
Yeah.
Just how the way the game's changed.
What I'm saying is, I think he's capable of being a top tier mid laner, but I honestly think that he's not the top anymore. I think he's not the top mid laner. I think that he's really, like, for the most, how many times is he really? He's been on competent teams, but I've seen them rarely ever make it to Worlds. He's made it a few times with his teams.
Once.
Yeah, made it once. Yeah, with his team, where I honestly, it was a
they were
really strong team.
One dive away from winning a game.
So let's be honest. Like,
to be fair, you factor in this. You have a 1v9 player like Power of Evil, right?
1v9 is a stretch.
Let's put that on a team like COG. Now that is clearly an upgrade from what they had in general over everything last year.
I don't think it's that much of an upgrade. I want to be honest. I don't think
they look like one of the most. They look really bad last year.
But you're saying, let's be honest. I don't think he was that much better than Huhi last year. He wasn't really.
I think he was.
He was
just
better
in terms of what he was able to offer his team.
Huhi was. I mean, the thing about it is he was funneled resources. Again, I want to put that out there on a team who I think was incompetent for the most part. I think that maybe Arrow for pretty much the only other player.
Dokla literally got resources just by playing off things like Yorick. So
yeah. That goes. I feel like on a team where I think there's just a few too many carries for him to kind of fully get the most resources that he can.
I think he'll flourish without those resources.
Maybe we'll see.
I think.
Again, I've never seen him on a team where he hasn't got them.
Yeah, because Misfits, Unicorns.
No, he always got them on Misfits.
Origin.
He always got them every time.
On Origin, he got most of the resources on his own because they funneled through bot.
I'm saying he didn't lose any resources.
Yeah, I just feel like he's
he might
I feel like he's fantastic.
I'm not saying he's not fantastic. I'm saying that he was not much better than Huhi last year, not to much extent. I think he is still one of the better mid laners in NA, but I think he was in terms of the people who came over from Europe in the mid lane, he was the worst one. He was not as good as Feven. He was
I
not.
don't know about that. I think that Feven around that point had a better team.
Feven was the better player. There's no I don't think there's an argument for that. I really don't see.
Because when they faced in lane, it was pretty even.
He lost Power of Evil got pretty stomped by Bjergsen in their phases. What's it called? What was he playing that day? What was it? He was playing Bjergsen. Was playing something. He tried to pick
Rise and Victor. Oh no, that went literally even.
He
played Farm Simulator.
The actual game that we went to, they announced how Bjergsen always loses to Power of Evil, and then it was a stomp.
That was when Power of Evil had better teams.
Well, no, but let's be real. Like Power of Evil got pretty stomped, and it was the first. I think it was their first match of the actual last year.
Yeah.
I can't remember who they played specifically, but I remember the ones it was completely one-sided in Bjergsen's favor.
Oh,
yeah.
You're talking about in spring. When they did face in spring, he lost pretty handily.
Yeah.
And then every time they faced after that, where Riot tried to, glorify the rivalry, it was even. Just dead even.
I don't know if it was dead even ever. I still think it's always been last year.
If you go back and watch the games, it was dead even. Like,
They
really never tried to make the play. They were just trying to see who farmed better.
Oh yeah, I'm essentially saying I think he lost in pretty much every lane. He did not. It doesn't matter about CSing more so as I feel like he didn't exert any pressure around the map.
That's the problem.
And the game and the teams where he did CS properly, evenly, it was the worst scaling champion. Like I feel like for the most part he just wasn't as good as the top tier mid laners last year. More so is where I saw Feven able to compete, and honestly he was better than he was the best mid laner in the spring split. He was the best mid laner in the spring split, and
when it comes to summer.
Well, he's not here anymore, so it don't really matter too much. But like, I think that Feven was able to compete to the very best extent. More so is Power of Evil. I really I do think he was.
I feel like it flipped. I feel like in summer we saw why Power of Evil was really good.
Well, I don't think he was that. Honestly, he was better than Feven, but I feel like Feven just fell off. I don't think he got better. He was never as good as Feven was in the spring split that year.
But I do think that the Power of Evil's problem, because he's my number 3 pick. His only issue is that he can't exert pressure.
He can.
I still think he can. In a certain way that you need to exert this exact pressure as a mid laner.
His only quality is exerting pressure.
I think one of his best qualities is CSing, creating build paths, finding off-mana pocket picks. I think his problem is exerting pressure in the right way that a really top-tier pro mid laner can exert it the way.
I think his biggest problem is his inability to kind of function in other situations. Where I think he essentially is a worse version of Echo Fox Froggen. If I do remember, essentially, I feel like he functioned.
He was just successful at getting wins.
He was a lane heavy focused mid laner who I think just really did not do as well against the top tier mid laners where I saw Froggen was able to competently play against them. I think he did poorly against Jensen, Bjergsen, and for Feven in the spring split, and then just those two in the summer split. But I think that obviously he's able to roam. He did have successful roams, but I feel like he didn't. He really his only
the pressure thing. As I
referenced. No.
He's just
he exerted a lot of pressure on lane. Is what I'm saying.
He's not technically a threat.
What?
But he's a threat in a different aspect. Like certain things people like to say about him, he exerts those things differently.
I feel like why is your placement higher with him and I'm saying nicer things?
No, I'm just saying he offers different things which are also really good.
I think his biggest thing is literally able to
get away from mid lane.
No, he's pushing the mid laner out of lane. He constantly forces them under turret.
He can make the move first, which is very. That's a basic.
I think
mid laners know.
I'm gonna say I think his worst quality is his inability, his roaming around the map. I do think he's good at it, but I don't think it's.
I think that's his worst quality.
I
don't think he does it the better way than the top mid laners do.
What I'm saying is I think he constantly bullies the mid laner. That's what his best quality is, and I think that's his only, for the most part, what he relies on a little too much sometimes. I think when he's not competently able to beat the mid laner, I think he attempts to I don't know what he attempts to do. I think he tries to keep trying to beat them, but it doesn't always end up happening.
I think he misses the opportunity to beat them. There are certain points in certain mid lane matches, if you don't beat that person, they're going to beat you just simply by either the champion not scaling or their build path is better at that point. And then you also have the factor in, I don't think him and Acadian worked well together. We've seen him do well with junglers that he can work well with together. So he has another new jungler now in Wiggly, so we have to kind of see how that's going to work.
Well, again, I'll say that I think his biggest problem is he didn't acknowledge some mid laners he just couldn't stomp, and that's what he kept trying to do.
And I think that he just didn't acknowledge his team.
He didn't. I mean, could he?
Sat mid lane most of the time farming. He played well. Like he's good. He's my top 3 mid laner for a reason. He played really well. The problem is like if you don't do it better than the top 2, you can't be top 2. Also, that you have to factor in if you're not beating. If he can beat everybody, if he can just do what he did, the 1v9 performance carries. You do that on CLG now. So he just has to transfer that 1v9 over.
If he plays the way he did on CLG, I mean on Optic, I do think the team will do well because I still think he'll exert that pressure that he did in mid lane. But I don't think that I don't think again his play style is good enough for the current day league. I think that trying to win like bulldozing
win game.
Yeah, it's just
that very rarely works.
Like I like Power of Evil. I really was gonna put him in number 3, but I feel like there's just
number 3. So he can go for his number 3.
I just feel like there's a little too much talent in the top 3 for the most part. But I do think like his qualities again are really good. He's able to 1v9, but I think that if he doesn't get the win in lane, he just doesn't function as well as most of the other mid laners who can play. Like he can't play from behind, is what I'm trying to say. While more of the other mid laners can function from behind. But number 8 and my number 3, I guess I'll go first. You want me to go first?
We already kind of went over my number 3 a lot.
So my number 3, you went over.
He's the only difference.
Yeah, my number 3 is going to be Nisqy. I think that Nisqy is one of the most. Like, I'm going to put it out there. I think he has some of the highest potential in terms of just abilities in NA, and I feel like towards the end of Summer Split towards the end of Summer Split with the Splice, I think he was one of the Splice. Yeah, I think he was like honestly capable of competing with any mid laner in the European scene. Honestly,
I would have liked to see him at Worlds.
I would have liked to see him actually straight up face Fnatic. I would have liked to see that matchup.
Because Nisqy wasn't losing to Caps as bad as everybody else did.
Yeah, but I think that he would have looked decent against Caps. I don't think he was better than Caps, obviously, but I think he was capable of holding his own, and that's really...
factor in this year, if Cloud9 has Nisqy against Caps, it could go better.
Yeah, I think that he's been gradually... I mean, obviously, Caps has improved at a higher rate, but, like, I think that Nisqy's just... He's been in the league longer, obviously, but he's still getting better.
If you look at his Korean solo queue and you've watched his games, oh my god. Cloud9 just might have actually found another Jensen.
I don't... Like I'd like to imagine that.
If you watch his streams and like the Korean solo queue he's been playing absolutely amazing.
I mean that's solo queue again. I don't want to put
Korean solo queue. This is the best solo queue on the planet though.
I mean,
not a lot of people can do well in Korean solo queue.
I mean, to be fair, Keith got number 1.
Don't mention that. But
I think that Nisqy obviously is capable. I think he's completely capable of being a top mid laner.
But I think he lacks a certain thing. He can't be. He misses a certain point. Like, I feel like he's not as flexible as the other people above him.
I don't know. He looked really... Like, he got a lot of... I think he
functions better in late game scenarios. I don't think he's an early game carry.
You don't need to be... Like, mid laner is a lot... There's a lot of situations...
No, like, if you don't... Like, certain times mid laners can... Like, if whatever's in the meta can have certain power spikes.
There's not a lot of early game mid lane. I mean, there's a few of them that can play the early game, but, like, all of them function pretty decently well.
I just feel like he's not like an early game threat.
You don't need to be I feel like mid lane can be. If you're an early game threat, obviously you have the capability of roaming, but I don't think he needs to be. Like, he is capable of playing pretty much I feel like he is flexible. I don't know if his playstyle functions well into some of these mid laners.
I'm not saying assassins are going to be the meta, but I'm saying like...
Well, yeah, I don't know what's like... What are you saying?
I feel like he just isn't a threat early game to like... be anything. I feel like he's mostly thrived in mid and late game. That's a better mid laner than him.
That is a mid lane. That's the mid lane power spike. Like, what mid laner is stronger?
Like, he doesn't effectively roam. I feel like he tries to do.
I'll give it to you. I don't think his roaming was great during the beginning of Spring Split and towards the beginning of Summer Split. Spring Split and the beginning of Summer Split, but I do think he actually picked it up towards the end of Summer Split.
He fights very well.
He does. Obviously, I think he's improved on most of his weaknesses.
I think he makes a bad team look better. I think that's not a quality a lot of mid laners have out of him. But I think comfortably. Wait, you have him at 3.
I have a number 3.
I have him at 5. So he's on average probably going to finish 4th. That's decent.
I mean, that's saying we're even close to accurate with any of our power rankings.
I mean, I'm always right.
Well, yes, but shut up. I think that like let's be honest, Nisqy is completely capable of holding his own against anybody in this league.
I do believe he could be better than Power of Evil.
I do believe he could be better than Jensen. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to put that out there.
Oh, my bad.
The way he played at the end of the Summer Split, I'm gonna like a lot of people. If you've watched the European League, I think he wasn't better yet, but I do think that is a kind of indicator and he's still improving.
He wasn't losing to like Perks.
Yeah, he wasn't losing.
losing to anybody.
I think he's been gradually improving. I think by the end of the next year, we're going to see either he's going to keep improving, he's going to stagnate. If he stays at that level that he played at the end of Summer Split, I'm fine with that. That's still a top 5, top 4 mid laner.
And that's perfectly. That's the best thing Cloud9 could have asked for.
But like to an extent, I don't think that's a ceiling. I think he still is going to keep improving, and I think he's smart. He's one of the smarter mid laners in terms of like.
Yeah, if you hear him speak about the mid lane, what an incredible smart dude.
Well, I mean, everybody has to be smart, I guess. But for the most part, I think he's one of. If he doesn't become a top 3 mid laner, I'd be surprised. I'm gonna put I just feel like his gradual improvement is gonna keep going into next season. But you want to go to number 2?
I mean, it's really hard pressed. Have you seen a bad European mid laner in this league?
And yeah,
that we've stolen. Like
there's been a few.
There's Caps and there's Bjergsen, there's Jensen.
We didn't steal Caps. I wanted to steal Caps. But our top 2 obviously are pretty obvious. They were going to happen.
I mean, we could probably talk about them in general.
Let's just talk, like...
It's good. For me, my number 2 is Bjergsen. My first is Jensen. His is just flipped.
Yep, mine is just flipped. I think, let's acknowledge Jensen's strengths first. I feel like that's the best bet.
B or J first? No.
Jensen. I just said Jensen. Why do we need to give him nicknames?
We're going to shoot for it.
Let's just go to Jensen first.
I mean...
Do you want to go to Bjergsen first?
B is first in the alphabet.
I don't care.
I'm just kidding. Well, why? Okay, so I have a number 1. So you have a number 2. So what is he doing that the number 1 mid laner is not doing? Because he's got to. Because like when you're in top 2, there's like one minute difference that Bjergsen is going to do over.
If you want my honest opinion, I think that Bjergsen.
This would be 1, but it's top 2.
I think that Bjergsen has consistently played substantially better than in playoffs. I think that's just a big indicator of why I think he's a better player. I think that he's consistently outperformed Jensen in the playoff situations. Like, last year was probably the closest Jensen's got to being his equal. And I think that, Bjergsen obviously has his weaknesses. I think that he doesn't roam exceptionally well. I do think he does roam to an extent, but it's not quite as good as it should be. But I think his laning's the best, if not, this best or second best laning at a consistent pace.
I would say, well, yeah, in stats, they were both.
Yeah, they're both great.
Tied.
I would
seriously just tied.
Like, their laning is obviously, in the top 2. Both of them are really capable of beating each other in lane. I don't say beating. I don't think Bjergsen really loses lane.
Jensen does solo kill him more than the other way around. If you watch their games, Jensen's actually beating.
Wait, is there a stat on that, or have you just
no
going by eye?
If you just watch a ton of their games,
I don't think that's.
Jensen's actually solo killed him a lot.
I think Jensen might try and solo kill him, but I think that even to an extent, I think that Bjergsen's probably been more efficient in his games.
Yeah, I'm not saying solo kill matters or anything. But
it doesn't matter. I don't know if it's happened. We don't know. We don't have a stat on that. Don't keep track.
That's not a stat, but from the games that I've witnessed when the Cloud9 teams face each other. Jensen's actually solo kill Bjergsen a lot more.
In his mind, anything against Cloud9 doesn't exist. So when Jensen dies, he just zones out. And when Bjergsen dies, it's 5 kills.
When Jensen did the hourglass play, I imagine that was High doing it.
Why did you touch me?
For me, it's weird because yesterday, if you haven't heard of a thing called HTC Esports, they did a Bjergsen video. And you can watch that. I'll link it actually when I type in my own personal YouTube name. I'll link it.
Why are you linking your YouTube? What's going on?
I'm linking the HTC video on Bjergsen.
Yeah, but why are you doing it on your YouTube?
I have to do it from here?
Wait. I mean, just log in. You have access. He has access to the
I'm
YouTube.
literally just plugging in. I'm just kidding.
If you want to plug in, I don't care. But
I think Bjergsen is fantastic. I think when they called him a faker, I think that was justified for the time period. But I think when it comes to there's 2 things why he can't be my number 1 pick. Well, there's actually 3 things. Which Bjergsen's better than everybody below my list, so it doesn't really matter because these picks, the reason why Jensen is number 1, are gonna really blow your mind. So get ready. Okay, so in terms of what matters, I know people like to say playoffs. NA playoffs don't matter in a certain sense. You look at Cloud9, TSM, Team Liquid, and CLG. At this point, winning any more trophies means absolutely nothing unless it translates to Worlds or MSI at certain points experiences, right? Okay, I think winning trophies doesn't mean jack squat because if winning trophies matter, then I guess then TL should have gone on the groups, right? It means nothing. I think Bjergsen is not showing what Jensen is showing, which is the best mid laner, roaming with his team, being flexible, playing with the entire team, willing to take a step back and let the team show why they're good. Not a lot of players do that. That's something a star can do in general. I think the form that Jensen showed at Worlds is the form that people have been wanting to see out of Bjergsen. There's been like 2 games that I can remember where Bjergsen's actually shown why he can compete at a Worlds level. I'm not saying he can't. I'm saying that Jensen showed that reason why. Worlds is what matters. Not NA playoffs, not MSI. Worlds is what matters. I don't. You can look at what Jensen did this year for beating Jizuke, Crown, a Curl. The way Jensen played is what people have been asking in a Bjergsen. Bjergsen's not showed that. And people give him the benefit of it all the time. It's the team. It's not the team. He's just not doing it. At a certain point, we can say that Haunter should have TP'd certain where and they would have beaten Misfits and they would have gone out of the groups. Didn't happen. Bjergsen has not shown what Jensen showed at Worlds, so why he can't be my number 1 pick, because you can just look at recency, who was at Worlds and who wasn't.
All right, now I'm gonna put something out. First of all, this is an NA season thing. That's why playoffs matter more than Worlds does.
That's true.
Okay,
but I do want to point that out because that's really
I want to say another thing.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter for this thing, but I'll put another thing out. Is that Bjergsen? I don't think has ever been stomped as hard as he was by Caps, who was actually
Power
not.
Eagle to
probably
your
was
season
in Worlds.
Intel Extreme Masters.
We just said Worlds. Again, you're not talking about Worlds.
Fine.
He's never been stomped, and honestly, Bjergsen's faced better mid laners than Jensen has.
Crown against Bjergsen
was
Crown the victor.
Well, I mean, how many mid laners has Jensen faced that are as good as Crown was at that point?
Faker.
What?
He played Faker 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I understand that. He did not play as well against him. Maple's not good.
We had a discussion
I actually
about
had
Maple.
this one. I actually don't think Maple is as good as people put out to be.
Controversial.
It is controversial. I think that people like to give Taiwanese because they want to say there are a few Taiwanese, but I think that Swordart is obviously the exception. I think Swordart, and I think that there were a few other. NF in his prime was pretty decent, but NL, sorry. But for the most part, I want to say that thing, I do not think that Jensen ever takes a step back. He always takes the majority of the resources, regardless of if he's struggling or not.
But he gets those on his own. That's not taking them. That's getting them.
Well, that means he's not taking a step back, because if you're behind and you're taking a step back, you give it to the laner who's ahead, which I don't think he's ever done. I don't think that's a quality he has. I would not say that Bjergsen isn't flexible. I think he's probably the most flexible player. In terms of his champion pool, I think he has the largest champion pool in NA. He's consistently played the best in playoffs, and playoffs does matter. If you go to Worlds and you have a higher playoff seed, you have the chance of playing a worse team.
But that's the problem. None of that has mattered.
It hasn't mattered yet, but for the most part, it's more likely to matter than it isn't. Is it not? You're more likely to play a worse team than you are a better team.
Even if that's true, he still hasn't shown any of that stuff.
And honestly, if it doesn't matter, if playoffs doesn't matter, then anything besides winning Worlds doesn't matter.
To be fair, that's Worlds is what matters at the end of the year.
It doesn't matter unless you win. If we're gonna discredit specific trophies, then not getting a trophy at all at Worlds doesn't matter because you didn't win. But realistically, performing well always matters. I feel like if you get a strong performance in the playoffs, you've earned the chance. And honestly, there's a reason people hang these little NFC champions banners inside of their stadiums when they win, like the like any specific thing, even if it's not the Super Bowl. These little pennants mean a lot to most people. Like, even if they're not the majority of things, these trophies are still showing that you've had really good years.
I just think that
they're an indicator of how well you've played. If Jensen doesn't show up in anything besides, like, a few Worlds games, obviously Worlds matters. But, like, I would not say he's been the better player.
The Bjergsen people have been asking for, Jensen showed that.
In what?
In where it matters.
Where? I don't think he's played better at Worlds. I think
he has.
In what way?
Even in just what we've last seen at Worlds, he's played better than Bjergsen.
I think
the way Jensen played is what Bjergsen should be playing. Bjergsen hasn't been playing that way. Bjergsen sits in lane, tries to win against someone he's probably not better than, and then doesn't roam, doesn't help his team, doesn't even move with the jungler.
I feel like you're being a little too harsh. I feel like you're trying to jump on a Bjergsen hate train at this point.
No, I think that's why he can't be number one, because I think I've seen these things more
again,
recently out of Jensen.
Worlds doesn't matter to this specific power ranking. I want to point that out, but I also disagree with that.
To be fair, you had TSM above Cloud9, so these two are probably going to be fighting for top 2 spots in the league.
Yeah, I'm going to put this out. I don't think they're the top 2 spots this late year. I do not. I think they're probably top 4, top 5.
TSM
and Cloud9. I think they're top 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I still think 100 Thieves and Liquid are probably better than them, but who knows? Who knows if either one of them pans out? But I do want to point out that I think that Bjergsen provides a lot for his team. I think he's the most flexible in terms of champion pools in the league. He plays pretty much everything. He does roam, but not to the best extent. I'll give him that. He's not the best.
That's a big thing for mid laners.
Well, he still does roam. He's just not consistently, and I think he focuses more on demolishing the laner which I honestly think he consistently does. I think he beats laners more often than he doesn't.
If we're talking about for just this league, I would say yeah. He's gonna win probably 9 times out of 10.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like he's had a pretty hard what's it called in terms of just the teams he had. I think that Jensen's had a pretty strong team going into Worlds for the most part, pretty much every year. It's kind of harder to like focus on your laners not falling apart around the map. During the season 6 Worlds, I do actually believe he was one of the better mid laners inside of Worlds, but you can't really give it to him because TSM didn't perform well.
And he was sick too, so a week of his performance gets delayed.
I do think he performed well, really well. I'm pretty decently well at Worlds for the most part. He rarely ever loses.
But Bjergsen is supposed to be our best mid laner. He's supposed to be outstanding.
So is Jensen. Jensen got.
I think both people have performed really well at certain instances. Yeah, I think Jensen performs well at Worlds, but I think Bjergsen performs better than him here.
I honestly think that Bjergsen plays better at Worlds. I'm going to point that out. I think that Jensen should not. I don't think Bjergsen's ever lost as hard to any mid laner, and he's faced really competent mid laners to the extent that Jensen lost to Caps. And Caps is not as good as Crown was in Season 6.
But to be fair, TSM faced what is better competition for them depending on their seeding. Cloud9 faced harder competition depending on their seeding.
Well, if you're basing it purely off seeding, yes. If you're basing it off what happened,
so theoretically, Cloud9 should have lost. TSM should have gotten out.
Theoretically, yes. In reality, that's not what happened. If we're talking about their seeding during Worlds this year, that was pretty abysmal, like competition in mid lane in terms of what he had to face in mid lane this year.
But just the performance. If you just go by the performance and take out the nameplate. That is what people have been wanting out of Bjergsen forever is to do what he does.
He didn't have... I'm going to say again, Jensen didn't have as hard as competition in this year in terms of the mid lane in groups. In terms of... And then when we went to the playoffs in the first round, I think he really... I really don't think Kuro's competent. I don't think he was competent at that point.
I thought Kuro was just washed up at that point.
I don't think he's washed up. He's had one of the best years he's had in a while this year.
Like in Korea, but I think we're at a point with Kuro, he's just going to be average.
I just feel like Jensen really didn't have competition in the mid lane this year. I feel like that's why we kind of saw shining. I still think Jensen's great. But like when we saw him go against what I would say is his first competent mid laner in Caps, he got absolutely demolished.
To be fair, it could be just play better on the day. Bjergsen's gotten hard.
I don't think Jensen ever should lose that hard to Caps, to be honest. But again, I don't think he's as bad, much worse than Caps.
What makes no sense is that Jensen and Caps faced each other before at Rift Rivals in 2017, and Jensen demolished him.
I would say that Jensen's completely capable, but the fact that he didn't show up on the day in Worlds,
Bjergsen faced Caps too and crushed him in that year.
Yeah, I think that Caps has just got genuinely just so much insanely better since then. I think
what a drastic change. He's probably the most improved mid laner in the Western scene.
He's the most improved player in the Western scene. I would go as far to say that.
But overall, if you run down things for mid lane, roaming, CS leads, champion pool, roaming up, pairing with your jungler, dives, coordination, all of them they both all have that same trait.
Yeah, I think that obviously we're only arguing, but regardless, we do think that both of these are the top 2 mid laners. You can't
whether it's one or two really doesn't matter. I just think Jensen does things slightly better than Bjergsen.
Yeah, it's really what you're looking for in your mid laner, obviously, and I think that either one of them.
Performance has to be there. Yeah. He said in the video when he's performing better, things are better. We need to see that from him. It felt like this year there were so many changes, and I felt like he didn't really have anything stand out this year. He had like a few standout games.
I'll give it to you. I think that Jensen was better in the summer split. I still think that Bjergsen was probably one of the better performances in the spring split, but I don't think he was as good. I think that this might be the year that Jensen might have been a slightly better mid laner. But for the most part, I think that Jensen... Honestly,
even back then, Bjergsen was slightly better than him.
I wouldn't say... Like, his first year, Jensen came into the year, Bjergsen was hands it.
Yeah.
Like, just steps above him.
But in terms of, 2016 spring, I think Jensen's had his number. Not to a certain extent. I think Bjergsen's been better.
I think Bjergsen's been better until maybe this year. I give Jensen maybe has been slightly better than him this year. But for the most part, I think that Bjergsen is going to look a lot more confident on team, where I think it's going to be a better team this year. So which is going to make him look better. They
don't want to do as much coaching changes. They had to teach Mike Young how to jungle pretty much at a professional
So I think with a more competent team, for the most part, since they were replaced.
Back. Yeah. He said that, traveling to a bunch of events, it was really hard for him to take a break. So I think that a refreshed Bjergsen is going to come off a World's Top 4 Jensen. We have to pay to see that match, TL versus TSM. Because then, if Jensen wins, holy crap, I'll be right.
Why do you keep touching me, man?
They're jabs.
So for the most part, I think that pretty much goes over our thing. We kind of got sidetracked on that took an hour. Oh my god.
I mean, it's mid lane.
For the most part, that we got sidetracked. I feel like we kind of dwelled on few too many points. If you have any like criticisms you want to point out, that's good to go.
People who comment regularly, just give your list, but give reasons. Don't say our list is terrible because...
You're allowed to say our list is terrible. I don't want to say anything.
Our list is terrible because here's my list of reasons why. I like that better.
I would say you're okay. If you want to just say I'm terrible, that's okay. I'm really sensitive, but if you want to make me cry, go for it. But for the most part, I think that we're all capable of seeing that any one of these mid laners it's really volatile. So even if what's it called? I'm going to blame, if I'm completely wrong, I'm going to blame it off the fact that they just had a stand-up performance and I wasn't wrong. But for the I'm gonna say if anybody has criticisms as to like the format or just our picks in general, just let us know in the comment section.
Yeah,
I'd like to know.
I would love to know what you guys' top 3 would be, because I mean the actual pool, if you look at the actual roster of mid laners, it's actually gotten substantially better than what we used to have.
This is genuinely, each year I feel like we get a lot better in terms of the rosters, but that's pretty much it.
Away from King finally.
And now that we've done all the lanes, I think the next step...
LCS power ranking.
Yeah, it's just the teams in general, the power rankings, and we're going to try...
We'll do Korea. For Korea...
We're not going to do the lanes for Korea. We don't have enough...
For Korea, we'll just think who are going to be top 5, because top 5 for them are playoff teams.
If we're going to do power rankings, I just want to do them all.
We'll do Korea first, and so we'll most likely, I'm not saying it's definite, we'll mostly be doing like top 5.
What are you talking about? We're going to do
the other teams that well. What are we gonna say about them?
We have all their rosters are picked out.
I know, like, what we're gonna say about Demline. We don't know about them.
Wait, we do. We just saw them at stupid...
You're taking Casper Cup as indicator for anything?
We saw how they played, and I saw how they played inside of the
challenger scene. I don't think they're gonna be that good. But
I think they're gonna be top 5 or 6, honestly.
I was thinking they're literally gonna be another clutch.
I think you're man. Have you not seen them play? They looked.
No, I mean, they were good, but like
they're not as good as. Well, I think you're.
Their competition. They're better competition.
Well, I mean, they looked good in the Casper Cup. They looked really good in the challenger scene. A lot of the teams that were at Worlds said they were completely getting demolished by Damonte.
Nothing will change my number 10th pick for Korea.
There's no changing that. I agree with that.
At Jin Air will be forever 10th. Yeah, at least this split.
I would like to see somebody kind of disagree with that, but that's pretty much it. If you guys, again, criticisms and...
So Korea, power rankings first, then EU, and then we'll leave our 4 fun region left.
I would like to do China. We'll throw
China too, yeah.
If anybody's interested in China, let us know in the comment section, but that's pretty much it. You want to say anything before we go?
Nightwing and JTH signing out.
All right.
Bye.